Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Têkkel Talk Show, where we encourage a culture of recognition. Guys, we just want to say thanks again for all the messages of support, the comments on last week's episode. We really love it. It keeps us going, keeps our blood pumping, and that's what we're all about. But yeah, let's welcome our co-presenter, Heini. How are you doing?
No, I'm fine, man. Also honored by the comments we had on Elton Landru's episode. It was great. What a guy to have on our show. Very popular actor and a very well-known performer in South Africa. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, for watching that show. It really means a lot to us. So today we have another special guest, renowned sport photographer, but obviously a sport fanatic, and we will learn more about what he has in store for us. Please welcome to Têkkel Talk Show, Mr. Têkkel Lombard. How are you, sir?
Very well. Don't call me Mr. I'll feel important if you call me Mr. But I'm doing very well. It's snowing in Stellenbosch. I'm warmly dressed. The heart beats warmly for rugby in South Africa, but obviously COVID. So we still tied down. We need to get out there and take some pictures again now.
Fantastic. Thijs, we're really honored and privileged to have you here. We're going to chat some photography, some sport. You're obviously a very flexible gentleman. You're involved in a lot of things. But just to start it off, tell us, where did things start for Têkkel Lombard as the photographer?
I think the seed was planted quite early in my life. My dad used to take a lot of, family pictures. I remember always I had to carry his Pentax camera out of the car and was never allowed to carry it without putting the sling around my neck. So he was scared. In the old days, the guys were very passionate about their cameras and their binoculars. And that's how I remember my dad, from his cameras and his binoculars. I still have his pair of binoculars as well. So I think the seed was planted quite early in my life. And then I took one or two pictures when it was still film, but it was too expensive. And then when it went over to digital, I bought my first Fuji Finepix F2800 Mik and Druk. And then the whole new world just opened up for me. So that's where it all started. I think that was back in 1996, 97, somewhere around there.
Sure.
Started playing around with digital. And then all of a sudden you could share these photos without even having to print them. I mean, it just was insane. As you'll pick up later, my photography is just a way of connecting with people. So it's less about the photograph and more about the people that I photograph. So for me to be able to send it to someone and then get a response, that to me is what photography is. It's all about for me. It might not be for someone else, but it's connecting. Photography is the reason I'm chatting to you guys. And for me, that's what makes photography special.
Fantastic, Têkkel. You mentioned the fact that photography is all about connecting with people. And you've taken thousands of photos over the years. What photo stood out for you as being one of either your most iconic or one of your most famous photos?
A couple springs to mind. I think obviously your first is always something that you remember. So my very first black and white picture of my brother and sister, and I remember the washing line in the background, and my dad said to me, and I think the dog, and there was a rugby ball in the picture. I must have been 7 or 8 years old. And my dad called me when my mom, it took about 2 weeks to have the negatives printed. And he said to me, if you take a picture, you got to look at the background. And even today, when I take pictures and I'm at Newlands, I try and move around so I can get either the advertising in or the crowds in. It's not only about the guy scoring the try, it's about what's in the background as well. And I learned that lesson from my very first picture. If I have to single out a picture that I think if I try a million times, I won't take it again, was a picture of Natalie de Tooy swimming. And as she exhaled, a bubble formed around her mouth, which is I'll get Chad Leclos to swim for 200 meters. It probably will never happen. It was just a fluke. And the sun was reflecting off the bubble. And that was quite a special photo, and was later auctioned off for Ilana Meyer's charity. And I was the only photographer included in that collection. I wasn't doing photography full time. I mean, I was in with Jacques Marais and Carl Fourie and people I still look up to today. Their pictures were included. So that maybe is a picture I'll remember because it opened an avenue for me. And then I think my most iconic picture must be the one I took in 2009 on top of Kilimanjaro of Francois Pinard, Henny Leroux, Scott Gibbs and Johan Steiger, and the three Springboks were wearing the Springbok jumper, and Scotty Gibbs unveiled the 2009 British Lions jumper. And there's a bit of a story, we can chat about it later, when I took the picture and the cold temperature and the card and the camera which malfunctioned, and it was nerve-wracking moments, but I guess that's my most iconic picture I think I've taken. It wasn't a difficult picture. All you had to do is you had to summit a 5,900 meter mountain in this minus 25 degrees, and then it was quite easy to take it if you got there.
Your photography obviously brought you in touch with a lot of sport personalities.
Yes.
Apart from taking the photo, you interact with these iconic sport people. Yeah. One or two sport personalities that really stand out for you as characters?
Just about all of them are characters. Brian Abana, iconic South African rugby player. Met him many times on the rugby field, on the golf course. So he stands out. But I think for me, and that's not rugby, but Chad le Clos. I've taken many pictures of Chad le Clos, but Chad actually invited me to come to one of his training sessions in Stellenbosch, and I spent time in the swimming pool with a GoPro with him, swimming with him. Obviously, I was wearing flippers. I thought I was a good swimmer until I swam with Chad. I'm doggy paddle. But, and he stayed over that evening, slept in my son's bed in our house. And the next morning before he raced, he was making some cereal in our kitchen. I had to pinch myself. This is this iconic South African superstar, but he's so humble. He took me for a pizza the previous afternoon. And that to me is what photography, if you can meet the people behind the photos, for me, that's what makes me tick. But connecting with the people, that's what, if I take a photo and it doesn't connect me with people, there's no use in taking that picture. Wow. So yeah, Brian Abana, all these rugby players, just being able to chat to these guys after a rugby match, for me is special. Having Rassie Erasmus come to me at a Springbok rugby practice and greeting me by the name, Alistair Coetzee. Guys like Skalkberger and John to me is an absolute character. Walking off a rugby pitch while they're training and shaking my hand and say, Tace, it's nice to see you next to the field. Those are the things that says to me, keep on doing what you're doing. You are reaching people. And for me, that's the essence of what I do.
That's fantastic, Tace. Besides being one of South Africa's, most famous sports photographers, you're also a great collector of sports memorabilia. Have you got something to share with us?
I can keep you here till this evening. That's the stuff my wife hasn't given away yet or thrown away. Sure. My collecting started without me even knowing that I'm a collector. I think I was probably 5 years old, and I'll share a photograph with you of me actually wearing the jumper I'm going to show you now. My dad's niece was married to Tiny Nodeer, the legendary number 5 lock for South Africa. And at the age of 5, he actually gave me one of his Springbok jerseys. And I only found out many years later that jersey was actually one that he wore in the 1965 test, the year that I was born in. So it makes it even more special. And the reason I found it out, my father-in-law captained the Springboks in 63, but he played in 1965 in the tour to New Zealand and Australia. So he played with Tiny and they were good friends. His name was A.B. Milan, and when I showed him the jersey, and let me grab it here, I've actually got his pair of socks as well. So here's the socks. So this is from 1965. Do the math. It's as old as I am, but just look at this jersey, man. That's pure Springbok gold. Number 5. And I've had my dad kept it till I was about 25 or 30. Because he said to me, you're too young to understand what this really means. I'll give it to you when you develop a brain. And I'm so glad he did, because maybe at the age of 20 or 25, I might have sold it because I think it's worth something. But for me, I can never sell it. I got it from this iconic guy. If my kids one day don't have the same value, then they can do it. But for me, the fact that he gave it to me, that to me is the most special jersey. I've got a big collection of Springbok Sevens jerseys. the one that's the most special to me is actually the day that Kyle Brown played did his last practice. It was a Friday. He came to me at Oldenburg Vineyards, where I'm the international wine marketer, and he walked up there with his number 6 away jersey. And
Wow. Wow.
for me, and he said to me, Tace, this is just to say thank you for all the years that you've supported the sport. And I always swap my photos for rugby jerseys. I don't, if people don't want to pay, for me, my photos have value, and for them, their jerseys or caps or whatever have value. So I always say, you don't have to pay me, but just give me something of value. Yeah. And I haven't given Kyle a single photo yet. I've got a whole folder full of photos that probably 400 or 500 photos of Kyle that I've taken over the years. He didn't give it to me because I gave him something. He gave it to me to say thanks for what you did for Sevens. And I mean, I thought they get a lot of these jerseys, so it's easy for them to dish it out. And then I heard that on some, and this is, I think it says Hong Kong, Japan. So it's obviously Tokyo 2017 on the sleeve. And then I heard from management that, they get one home, one away jersey per tournament. And sometimes like this tournament, they only get one home, one away for both tournaments. So this is something really special. I've got a couple. I've got Chris Dryer's jersey. I've got, this is number 8. I don't know. This, I think, was Stedman Gans. This is Stedman Gans' practice top that he gave me the other day in exchange for photos.
That's nice.
I think number 3. So this is Dylan Sage. And yeah, this is the first one I got. Chris Dry gave this in exchange for photos. And then it's not just, I've for instance got junior Springboks autographed by the whole team.
See Cohen Bosch there.
Cohen Bosch, Sabua and Corsi, Mani Libok. And so for me, this is special. I've got to hide it away because, as I said, my wife, she says, why are you taking all these jerseys and stuff? This is something I got last week. This is Six Nations Italian jumper, match played, number 4, that I got from a close friend of mine, Floxelier. And the detail on this is just incredible. Inside the sleeves, I mean, that's people who watched it on TV don't see it, but inside the sleeves they have the Italian. In the neck they've got the Italian flag, and for me the most incredible is in the back. Hope you can see it. There's a it is the Michelangelo print printed into the jumper. So yeah, so when it comes to rugby, I've got lots of stuff. I've even got someone like Rasta Rashavengi. I try and meet everybody. I love the referees. I've got stuff from Welsh rugby that I got from Craig Evans, the Welsh referee, and I've got even a pair of shorts from Rasta Rashavengi, which he wore. So, but also from other sports. I mean, for me, this is probably if I put this on eBay in okay, I don't know if you can see this that is Sachin Tendulkar's cap that Jonty Rhodes gave to me after a practice from the Mumbai Indians, autographed by Sachin. And then I love golf, so I've worked for Ernie Els before. I've met some of the world's top golfers. I've photographed Tiger Woods when they played in George, and I met Rory McIlroy when he was 19 years old. And Ernie still said, "Watch this guy; he's going to be good." But the other day, wine tasting, all these sportsmen, they all love their wines. I had Ricky Fowler over for a wine tasting, and he gave me this autographed cap. He always wears orange on the last day of a tournament, and they're autographed by Ricky Fowler. So this is.
You're saying Ricky Fowler was in South Africa recently at the wine estate?
I've got photos of him chatting to me. I have a love for Marmite. So I've changed my logo to Taste Lombard Photography on the Marmite. So I'll make sure I get some Marmite over to you guys. And I actually gave Ricky Fowler some Marmite, and he gave me his cap. So yeah, no, he was there on his honeymoon with his wife. Took him for a wine tasting, tasted out of the barrel, and he's just so humble. For me, that's people look at these sportsmen and maybe they see a persona on screen that's arrogant and fist pumping, and I'm not talking about Ricky now, but you look at some of these rugby players, to to face Jonah Lomo, you need to have attitude. But that doesn't mean that you have that same attitude after the final whistle is blown. And for me, the best example is one of our best rugby players ever. I'd put in the top 3 or 4 or 5 rugby players ever, and that's just my opinion, and it may not count for much. The Skalkburger. If you meet that guy off the field, he's the most humble, soft-spoken. He even has a soft handshake. But he steps over the white chalk line, and he is a devastating tackler. And I mean, and I think that's why so many people are perceived to be arrogant or full of themselves. But, you know, they're just in that zone that they need to be in to play their sports well. And I love to photograph those moments of impact. So I don't think I've showed this to you guys. Don't know if you can see there.
Yeah, cufflinks.
These are the cufflinks my father-in-law wore on the last Springbok tour to New Zealand and Australia that he played in. Also 1965. And after he passed away, my wife gave it to me and said, you know, this is the year you were born in. I mean, I knew him for 38 years of his life, farmed for him, worked for him. And for me, this is something that's irreplaceable. I mean, there's no ways you can ever, I mean, these things are not made anymore. So if I have to pick a single item that's, for me, the most valuable, it has to be these 2 cufflinks.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Very special.
That's something probably that you will keep, you know, there's no way that, that
I'll
anybody can show you to. Yeah.
His name is Malan, so he's named after my wife's surname and my father-in-law's surname. So he's already got the 1965 Springbok blazer. I've got the 65 jersey. My brother-in-law has given me the 65 team photo, and I've got the cufflinks. So I think pretty much everything. So yeah, brilliant. And the socks.
Ja, nee, fantasties. Jo. Jy het vroeër genoem, jy het 'n foto gevat bo op Kilimanjaro, en dit is mos nou obvious dat jy Kilimanjaro toe geklim het saam François Pienaar en Henny Leroux onder andere. Dis nie iets wat jy een oggend opstaan en sê, boys, kom ons gaan vir klim op Kilimanjaro nie. Wat het daai poging geïnspireer? Eerens het iemand, dis nie om 'n braaivleisviering gesê, boys, let's do this. Waarvan af kom die idee en hoekom het julle daai poging aangewend?
Ek vermoed die idee is rondom 'n braaivleisvuur deur Frans en ek was net nie by daai selfe braaivleis gewees nie. Daar's 'n ou wat een van die mede-eienaars van Saracens in Londen is, Dominique Sylvester, 'n baie groot besigheidsman, en hy is 'n co-owner van Saracens, en hy is baie betrokke by François se Make a Difference Foundation, en ek het altyd die foto's geneem van sy golfdae. So ek ken vir François van toe hy nog vir jy weet, sy universiteit gespeel het, voordat hy toe bietjie Transvaal gespeel, maar voor hy Springbok geraak het ek hom al ontmoet deur sy vrou se broer. So ek het al François se golfdae gedoen, vir Dominique leer ken, en toe het ek op 'n dag vir Dominique foto's gaan neem van sy dogtertjie op Steenberg. Was 'n Sondagmiddag, ons het sommer daarna 'n worsie gebraai, en toe sê hy vir my, Thys, how fit are you? So, "Oh, fit enough to take your photos," het ek nog so jokingly gesê. Hy's 'n Irishman. Maar hy het op baie stadium in Suid-Afrika gebly, en hy sê, "No, but we need a photographer to take our pictures on Kilimanjaro. We've got to get a photographer." I said, "Oh, well, when you guys going?" I said, "No, we're flying on Friday." 5 dae, ek is nie so seker nie. Maar gelukkig op baie stadium het ek toe al op baie maratonne, halfmaratonne gehardloop. Ek het 'n Robben Eiland swem gedoen. Ek kan vasbyt. As daar een ding is wat ek kan doen, I don't do give up. So ek is nie eerste oor die wenstreepie, maar ek sal daar kom. En ek het toe vir my 'n paar skoene gaan koop, en ek het gelukkig 'n kers opgesteek by van die ander fotograwe en gesê, jy weet, en wat hulle vir my gesê het is, onthou net Kilimanjaro is minus whatever. So hou jou kamera se batterye teen jou lyf, want as hulle te koud kry, dan verloor hulle al hulle lading. So as ek dit nie geweet het nie, want daar's nie chargers op Kilimanjaro nie, so jy charge jou goed en vir 5-6 dae moet dit gecharge bly. En wat hulle nie vir my gesê het nie, as jy jou kamera aan en af sit in daai koue of batterye omry, dan kan hy partykeer 'n spike gee en dit delete die goed op jou memory card, en dis presies wat gebeur het toe ek die foto heel bo geneem het. So toe ons afkom, toe sê François vir my, "Kan ek die foto sien?" Die eerste aand wat ons nou af is, toe slaap ons nou oor, want dit vat jou 'n paar dae om weer af te kom ook. Sê ek vir hom, "François, ja, ek gaan dit nie nou vir jou wys, ek sal vir jou wys as ek terug is in die Kaap." Toe sê hy, "Hoekom nie?" Toe sê ek, "Nee, ek dink daar's 'n tegniese issue." En hy het my so in die oë gekyk, dis die eerste keer hy het my gesê, "Al wat jy moes doen, is jy moes my foto op die berg neem." En onthou, dit is nou nuus, dis die leeu trui, dis vir Make a Difference Foundation. En ek het vir hom sê, moenie worry nie Frans, ek kan nie dit nou vir jou wys, ek sal dit vir jou wys. En toe ek teruggekom het, het ek 'n pel van my gevra en hy het sulke recovery software gehad en ek het ontsettend gebid en die syfertjies het gehardloop en dan sê vir my nou nothing en ek net sê keep on trying en so die derde keer toe kom al daai foto's terug. So
my vader. So jy het die
miskien is
foto.
dit ook 'n les in dat jy weet selfs met tegniese goed, as die komputer sê hard drive destroyed, hou aan probeer net. My fotografie is maar 'n storie van hou aan probeer. En daai is so daai is 'n iconic foto. Ek kry almekaar so koue rillings ek dink jy sê amper is daai foto nie beskikbaar gewees nie. Ja, baie special.
Jy's meer as net 'n fotograaf. Wat is nog op jou bucket list soos die Engelsman sê?
Ek is op 'n journey waar ek stories wil opneem en interessante stories en onthou interessante storie is nie altyd die ou moes 'n Springbok gewees het of hy moes Everest of Kilimanjaro geklim het of oor die see geswem het met 2 haie wat agter. Partykeer is dit 'n gewone ou wat sy job verloor het en opgestaan het uit die as uit en want gewone ouens kan amper nie eers relate met 'n Brian Abana wat so suksesvol was nie. Alhoewel Brian 'n gewone ou was wat hard gewerk het en suksesvol geraak het. So ek dink partykeer ja, as jy vra wat's op my bucket list is om hierdie stories te gaan capture en my miskien nie te steur aan wat gaan die ander mense sê nie. Ek dink dit is die ding wat ons almal terughou. Want my Paul Blackbeard interview het ek vir 2 jaar nie gepost nie omdat ek gedink het ek is nie 'n goeie ou om 'n interview te voer nie. Wie gee my die reg om 'n ander ou weet ek is nie die regte ou nie terwyl dit hou ons te veel terug van wat gaan ander mense sê. So op my bucket list is om soveel as moontlik stories te capture. Want as hy eers gecapture is, ek is seker die tegnologie gaan verander, maar dan sit daar vir weet ek bly om die draai van 'n Jan Boland Kutse en ek gaan drink so nou en dan 'n glasie wyn of 'n koffietjie met hom en daai ou hy's vrot van die stories, van ikoniese stories oor die wynbedryf en oor rugby. En daai goed word nie opgeneem nie. So ek is op 'n mission om hierdie goed te capture. So
Fantasties. It wasn't always moonshine and roses. There were obstacles that you had to overcome. There were challenges on your way to becoming a photographer, but also, just a good, humble human being. Share us some of those obstacles and challenges which you faced and how you dealt with them.
Okay, maybe on a personal level, and they both examples I want to share with you guys. They both photography actually saved me in both instances. The first was I think it was 2014. I got kicked out of my job by the owner of a wine estate that I was managing, and he wanted his son to run it. And there's nothing that I did wrong. It was just that's how the cards fell for me. And I had a choice. Sit at home and feel sorry for myself. And trust me, I felt really sorry for myself. Or I had to get up and face the world and move on. And all I had was my mobile phone at that stage. I walked out of a very nice job that I was highly paid. And my wife said to me, what you going to do tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. She says, well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to support you because I never married for money or for anything. So nothing has changed for me. We'll do it together. But I'm not going to work. You're not going to take a sabbatical. And tomorrow morning, you're going to get up. And like anybody who's got a job, you're going to leave the house at 8 o'clock. You're going to shave and dress properly and leave the house. And you only come back at 5 o'clock, just like someone who's got a job. And that's what I needed. I got my first consultancy job for social media 2 hours after I left the house. And so I wasn't back on my feet, but I was busy. But all I had was my mobile phone, and I knew how to make a video. I knew how to take a photograph, and that saved me for more than 2 years. That's what I did. I supported my family with my mobile phone, making videos. It was humbling, very humbling. You know what? I look back today, and today I'm really good at what I do in the wine marketing environment because I can tell a story and I can package it and I can get it across. And I would not have learned that skill if I wasn't forced to learn it. So if there might be people out there battling with having lost their jobs, there's life after that. You need faith. You need someone to believe in you. And then you need to get up in the morning. And it's easy for someone to speak who's been through it. It's tough when you're there. And I'm sure after COVID, there will be many people who can relate to this message. And yeah, the Lord got me through this, but He taught me skills in a difficult time that today, is invaluable. I love it. And then the other challenges I faced was to actually be accepted by these bunch of photographers you see every Saturday sitting around the field. They're a unique bunch of guys, and they're very protective of their environment. And if you walk in there with a little Mick and Drick camera with not one of these massive white Canon or Nikon lenses that cost $200,000, these guys frown upon you. And they actually can make the world quite a difficult place for you there next to the field. So when I walked in there in 2004, 3-4, somewhere around there, it wasn't, as you said, moonshine and roses. In fact, the guys said to me, "What are you doing here? You know, who are you shooting for?" And there was one photographer who worked for Die Burger, a guy called Maton van Zyl, actually a very good photographer. And I phoned him and said, "Maton, would you share with me?" And he said, "As long as you buy beers, I'll talk." And he looked at my camera and he said to me, "Bro, you're going to do the same photos as I do, but I'm going to sit on my backside and you're going to have to run up and down the field." But he could have so easily said to me, "Oh, sorry, with that camera, you're going to get nowhere. You know, you need..." And that's the story I want to share. You know, it's not about the equipment. Yes, equipment makes life a lot easier. But I have had more success with my mobile phone and a lens that I bought for $80 in Hong Kong. I promise you, I've made more money and I've had more success with my mobile phone. The environment has changed. It probably wouldn't have worked like that 10, 15 years ago. So if there are budding, aspiring photographers out there, and you don't have to be at Newlands, you don't have to be at the Olympic Games. Go to your school sports event. Go to your club. I did hours of club rugby, Peniel Villages, you name them, NTK, derbies. I did all my work for Helderberg Rugby. I nearly got clubbed a few times by people next to the field because I was in their way. You have to learn the ropes. Yeah, so obstacles, many, but just have an attitude of, I want to do it. Passion takes you through all of those setbacks. I'm very close friends with Brendan Venter. He's changed my life. He's a man of God. People misunderstand him so easily because they read in the papers. Brendan said to me, if you are lying to the guy you see in the mirror and when you brush your teeth in the morning, you've got big problems. So for me, that's the essence. I mean, honesty. And what I've shared today is my honest story. If people don't like it, I won't say I don't care because I love people. So I want people to like me. But if my kids love me and my wife love me and the rest is Jesus Christ, I love Jesus, Jesus loves me. The rest is a bonus. And you'll get there when you're 55. You don't have to be there when you're 30.
We're not far off. We're not far off of that age.
No ways. You guys are youngsters, man. That beard is showing a bit of experience.
Thanks. Wow. Look, I mean, it's such an inspiring story, for people of all walks of life, not only in your sector, in your career at least. But thanks for sharing it. Thanks for being a part of the show. Valuable minutes and nuggets of information you gave us. So really loved it. Heini, wow, what an awesome interview, man.
Yeah, Barry. We always say at Têkkel Talk Show, we want to encourage a culture of recognition. We want to say thank you. Thanks vandag sê ons Têkkel Lombard, dankie vir die harde werk, great images, koerante toegebring het, al die jare sport images op ons digitale fone in ons huise inbring, sommige tye ondankbare werk, wat vandag het jy vir ons 'n bietjie insig gegee oor wat dit verg om daai award-winning foto te vat, foto op die agterblad van sportkoerante, en ons wil vir jou sê, baie dankie, ons wens vir jou voorspoed toe. 'n fantastiese persoon. Vir die kykers wat jy weet, ons het Fabian juries vroeër in die episodes gehad. Ons het vir Fabian gevra, Fabian gee 'n paar foto's. Fabian said, guys, I've been playing rugby. I don't have a single photo of myself. Ons het tuis gekontak, tuis sê, manne, met graagte. Hier is die foto's, al die foto's in die Fabian juries episode, tuis het vir ons gegee sonder enige vergoeding te vra. Ons kon nie eens vir jou 'n keppie of 'n jersey of iets gee nie. Maar van ons kant af, thanks so much. You are a legend in the industry, a humble human being, and I'm inspired by this interview, and I'm pretty sure our viewers out there will be inspired by what you've shared with us today. Go well, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Bless you, and keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, I think it's the ordinary stories that are inspirational. As I mentioned earlier on, we can all look up to the Brian Abanas and the Chadley Close, but the inspirational stories are when normal guys are struggling with life and they conquer and they actually triumph over life, because we are all battling daily and through COVID. I mean, keep on doing what you guys are doing. I've watched all your shows, and I'm really honored to be part of this, and hopefully I can contribute to future shows as well. You've got my number. You're always welcome to give me a shout. Thanks, guys. It was an honor to be chatting to you guys.
There you have it, guys. Mr. Têkkel Lombard, live on Têkkel Talk Show. What an honor, what a humble human being. Please check out the show. Comment at Têkkel Chat, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time. Cheers, guys.